Hi, everybody. My name is Mark Machado. I'm a realtor with Corcoran Global Living, and I'm a proud sponsor of Donuts for Breakfast, and we are the remedy. I believe that Desire to Inspire Studios is a great and safe place for kids to learn. The opportunity to be able to come out and experience what it's like to be on a set, experience what it's like to work with other people, experience what it's like to have to create and build relationships with people that you're going to work with is so important. We need to respect our youth, and we need to teach them, we need to help them grow. And I think this is a great opportunity for us and myself as a sponsor to help those kids grow. If you like this programming and like helping our youth, please consider sponsoring the show. Thank you.
Welcome to Donuts for Breakfast, where action meets compassion. My name is Trevor Henley. I'm the inspirational activist, founder, and derailed. Thanks to Michael. Welcome, Michael. You want to introduce yourself?
My name is Michael Pritchard, and I am Trevor Henley. So I was given an instruction there by Cesar, our force de majeure. Yes. Hi, everybody. I love being here. And we're going to have a great conversation with two wonderful human beings, and poor Trevor and I, who will be just listening because they're so brilliant and smart and wise. I think that no pressure at all. But Trevor and I have been together a long time, working together and helping community. And this is about finding ways to make our neighbors feel good in the community. There is no I in team, but there's an I in community, neighbors, and friends. And that's who we want to be to everybody. Your neighbor, your friends. We're not your therapists. We're not your psychiatrists. We're not your counselors. We're not your attorneys. We're not your physicians. We're your neighbors. And we actually do love you and want the best for you and all the folks in our neighborhood. So that's why we do what we do with brilliant folks like we have today.
And with us today, we have Ra, introduce herself, and Layla.
Hi, I am Ra. I'm the operations director at Desire to Inspire Studios, and I'm excited to be wrapping up the topics of generational wealth for the month of July. We have one more show after this one. It's been a great launch for the show, and I'm excited to have my person, Layla Alexander, on the show with us today. She is a Fisk graduate. Fisk is a HBCU business school, and she has had the opportunity to use her degree in the past and has opted out of that process.
Boom.
But yeah, thank you for coming today.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Honored.
As Ra was saying, my name is Layla Alexander. I am the managing operations manager for a catering company. So as Ra was saying, completely different from what I got my degree in. But I love it. And I'm really excited to be here with you guys today. I mean, I've had the opportunity to work with Desire to Inspire before. And I think you guys do amazing work in the community. You bring voices to the voiceless and you put people out there. And I love that. So anytime I can get on board with you guys, I'm down. And let's talk about some generational wealth.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Layla. And so I probably should have asked that. Hold on. Stop Google. Stop Google.
Google.
Oh my gosh. What is generational wealth?
According to Investopedia, generational wealth refers to assets passed by one generation of a family to the next. In some cases, assets are transferred after death in the form of an inheritance.
There it is.
Nice.
There it is.
Nice.
Thanks,
Hopefully
Google.
that made it on my phone.
Yeah, sorry. I still had it on Bluetooth, Sarah, this morning.
It's always an adventure here.
It is always an adventure.
So as I was telling the gentleman, I made questions this time. So I'd like to start with one of those questions for everybody. What does generational wealth mean to you? We've had a couple of episodes to talk about it. Mr. Pritchard.
For me, generational wealth has absolutely nothing to do with money or savings. It has everything to do with compassion, human emotion of love, connection. So in other words, the money will come to us. I think there's a wonderful line by Arthur Miller, the writer. He said, on the day you die, the size of your funeral still pretty much depends on the weather that day. No matter what you've amassed, no matter what fortune you have, no matter how great your fame, and that is what's really important more than anything else is your love for yourself and your love for your family and their love for the community they're helping and their children that they're growing in. So that's to me what generational wealth is. Emotional intelligence, emotional wealth, and I guess it's because, and I say this sincerely, I work with some of the wealthiest people in the world, and I see the poverty in their spirit. There was a line Mother Teresa said. She was speaking to all these people that had paid exorbitant sums of money to come to the cathedral, and they wanted to be in the front row to be close to the woman who worked with poverty people and starving people and suffering people. And she said, and I thought this was remarkable. I'm pretty sure I was the only one that kind of went, wow, what a moment. She said, a lot of you are here tonight to listen to me speaking about my children who are starving to death in Ethiopia or India, but they are dying, loved in their mother's arms. And some of you are surrounded by objects you've purchased for your children. They're surrounded by those objects at home, and they are dying of malnutrition of the spirit. And I think in the community I live in, I see that. I think I see that a lot. There's so much amassed to give what is thought to be the happiness from possessions or materialism or the systems that teach and preach kleptocracy, and you see the sadness of it.
I'm gonna need a definition for that.
Kleptocracy. I'm over here like Googling.
What is it? Kleptocracy?
Don't you do that in front of the people at this. They're going to go, "Hey, you blue dog Chansley."
You knew what that was.
Say it one more time.
Kleptocracy is a system that teaches you to just possess for yourself, for your own, in other words, kleptocracy would be Adolf Hitler and his regime, stealing from everybody as they went through criminal enterprise, only using everything they could in a kleptocracy was to gather wealth to themselves to establish what is called power. And, of course, Solomon the Wise, Solomonic wisdom is all is vanity of vanities and the chase after the wind, unless the Lord permits you to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So it doesn't mean anything. You have all this, but you're, if you see the end of the Reich in Germany, the tragedy of what they revealed from the shadows and darkness of what that kleptocracy had done to possess that wealth, pretty frightening to the extreme.
Right.
Absolutely.
So
There it is.
there you go. Boom.
There it is.
Yeah.
Trevor.
That was
They actually teach that at Fisk.
There's a whole class on it. but honestly, when you think about it, I think Mr. Pritchard has a great philosophy. Generational wealth is really about breaking the mindset. We're all conditioned to think, because normally when you think about wealth, you think about status, finances, and things like that, and about acquiring as much as you can. And in this particular case, passing it on to your family, your legacy, so that they can too have that power. But it's really about passing along information, passing along the information so that you can find your purpose, what makes your heart sing, what makes you, because that's what this journey is truly about. It's not about acquiring finances, but I mean, if you want to think about it on like a systematic level, how can you acquire generational wealth, the money, the money side of things, when the system was created to keep you in debt?
Yeah,
You can't.
it's designed that
It's
way.
designed that way. That's what I personally think that this country, you're supposed to go to school, and for all our interns, stay in school, go to school,
Go to college.
do all that, or do what you want.
Do what you want.
Do what you
what
want.
makes you happy.
So they were taught to seek the knowledge, seek the information, go to school, but take out these astronomical loans that you may never be able to pay off, so that you spend the rest of your life in debt, paying into a system with not only your sweat equity, your time, your work, all of it, your nerves, the stresses. I'm talking about some real things right now. Got triggered real quick. But to keep you paying into a system that you can never fully get out of. That's what I think is seriously flawed.
I just have to make one observation. Your ancestors are so proud of you.
Aw.
It's true. No, it's true.
Yeah.
They feel you.
I talk with them often.
You are the living embodiment of Fisk.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow.
Damn.
That was, I mean,
Damn.
if I'm going to toot on my alma mater, we've had some really profound people teach and walk through those doors. For you to say that, thank you very much.
I mean every word of it.
Thank you. I do believe that it's a daily process, trying to make myself proud, make my ancestors proud, and really find the path where I'm living in my purpose.
Right.
So, which is
Great telling the book.
close to generational wealth. I'm
Yeah.
trying to acquire the information, trying to raise my frequency and find my higher self, so that I can therefore teach it to future generations.
Here's a good frequency for your book. The purpose of life is a life of purpose.
Absolutely.
And that's you.
Absolutely.
I mean, everything you're saying. And the food.
Me some days.
Well,
But you know what I mean?
Other days she wakes up and chooses violence.
I do.
In the same way.
It
well,
happens.
that's every human.
It happens.
That's every human.
It happens.
What are you learning today, buddy?
I'm
Did you
learning
miss
that
us?
Ron, I
Did
don't
you-
need to be here today. And we can just
I
be
know,
the two
right?
of you going back
Will
and
you
forth.
stop?
To just have this
I mean,
moment.
initially,
Wine countries north of here. Go ahead.
so when I think we first started this, it was my understanding was generational wealth was something that was kind of passed down, and hopefully it was what kind of set people, for life financially. And I think after our conversations and really getting back down to what we've been talking about is I think I said it last week, but my purpose is to live my life to the fullest. Right. And do the things I want to do and be able to help the people I want to help, and the money will come.
Right.
Right. And,
Exactly
and I'm working towards that. But, I fully believe that, if I can pass down the idea of pursuing your passion, doing the life you want to do.
Absolutely.
Right. Don't take no for an answer. Don't let people stand in your way if they want to put you down or shut you down or not let you grow up. It will happen. The money will happen.
Mhm.
And so I think part of going back to your short statement about passing on is it really is. It's about passing on a legacy. It's about passing on a way of life.
Right.
It's about passing on emotional intelligence so that the people that we teach can live their life.
And so that, the future generations don't come into this
Right.
game of life thinking all I have to do is just work to acquire the money, to save up, to do,
Right.
to buy the material possessions.
Right.
That
To-
life, this path that we're on is so much bigger
Right.
than that.
Right. To retire when I'm 60 or something like that and then live the life I want to live.
Oh.
62 if you
Live-
want
oh, I
Social
mean-
Security, 70 if you want to be able to like. There's so many. There's so many fail safes built into the U.S.'s system to trap, to hold back, to prevent a shift in how the systems operate. You know, part of, I've always said, and I believe we've said this before, is that education is the greatest weapon that anyone can have. And I don't mean education like traditional, I mean like information, like the learning, the questioning, the critical thinking.
Enlightenment.
Yeah, because the second that we all start to question, that we all start to critically think about the systems that have been put in place, that is when they start to crumble because they don't make sense.
Right.
Absolutely.
They don't make
Yeah,
sense.
exactly right.
And I think that part of what we're going to be passing on to our future generations is not only the wealth, but the questions of how that wealth was acquired, what you should be doing with that wealth, what that wealth means, not just to you, but to the people around you, to the community around you. And why is it so hard to hold on to it, do what you want with it, acquire it later in life? And why does every other system feel entitled to it? There's so many things that we have been misinformed about, and I know that Law might be able to elaborate a little bit more on this, but I was watching a video and it was brought to light that a lot of US citizens consider Africa to be a very poor continent. And Africans find that ironic because they don't have credit. So everything that they pay for, they have. It's theirs.
Yeah.
They own it.
Right.
Their cars, they own them. Their phones, they own them. Their houses that they build,
Right.
they pay cash for that because there is no credit. So their wealth is truly in existence as opposed to a amorphous number with a decimal point that somebody else is making money off of, because it doesn't exist until you have to pay them. You're paying somebody else for imaginary money.
It's not even printed. They don't even have it.
Yeah.
But that is what we have been taught to think of as wealth. Oh, you have good credit.
Hmm.
Oh, you can buy whatever you want because you have a black Amex. That's not money. Like that's a misconception. And there's so many ties associated with this interest-based accumulation. The way that we pay taxes is backwards. Where that money goes is backwards. Like the concept of tax returns is weird to me. Like the idea that we're giving the government money, the government's making money off of the money that we give them every month. And if we're lucky and we do the paperwork right, we might get some of that back at the end of the tax season. And we have been taught for generations that is perfectly all right.
Okay.
It totally makes sense. It really doesn't. And so I think part of what I want to see passed down is not only I want to see our interns know that high school, they made it through. Everything hereforth is an adventure. Like every experience that you have, everything that you do is for learning. Everything that you put your foot in leaves a print.
Mm-hmm.
And you want that print to be positive. You want that experience to be lasting. And that is part of what I feel like we should be passing down. Like if you have $1 and you give 50 cents because that's all you have, that's still a gift. That's still something giving. You know what I mean? If you don't have anything, but you had a hand up, that's still a gift. Mm-hmm. And the failures that you have are somebody else's lessons. So they're still worth having.
Wow. What a line.
So I think that's part of what our generational wealth is going to look like moving forward. Question number 2.
Well, and I also love that, the failures are someone else's lesson. I mean, I feel like, before I was 25, I had lived 3 lives, or by the time I was 25, I had lived 3 lives.
Yeah.
And, 10 years later, 15 years later now, people come to me with different issues or just mention something. And I'm like, oh, I've been there. I've done that. Right. Here's some warning signs,
Right.
here's a path that I wouldn't recommend following,
Right.
or you could follow this path if you want to go to that route. But, it's just to give life experiences.
And I think the beauty of this conversation and what we're doing here today is that we've already clearly defined that the wealth part of it is not necessarily 100% tied to your finances.
Right.
Yes, it is critical to learn about those so that you know how the system works, so that you know how to move within the system. But wealth is defined by experiences, your failures, the good, the good, the bad, the information, living. So it's how you define wealth. And I think that too many times, sadly enough, we get caught in the system with the blinders on, and the wealth is only the finance, and you lose facts. So we've had those blinders removed, fortunately. So it's our job to continue to remove the blinders for everybody else.
Right. Absolutely.
It puts you at, I think, in servitude. I have a son who's an ER doctor, worked in New York 8 years during school, and then he was the chief resident at Brooklyn Memorial Center. And here he is literally dealing with thousands of people dying from COVID and in a Caribbean neighborhood. And he's dealing with all of that. And yet he's in servitude to a system that lent him the money to learn how to save lives, give lives. What does that, how does that compute to
Does
you?
he still owe money on that?
So wrong.
I'm going to go with that's a yes.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
sounds
What was
so
I'm sorry, what was the
bad.
question?
I asked him if he still owes money on that, and it's a yes. It was a resounding yes.
I have friends who are like dentists and doctors are, and the amount of loans that they accumulate over time is astronomical. And you just hope that as you progress in your profession, that you're in a position to be able to pay them back. And I guess the higher purpose is like you realize that you're helping people, you're serving a greater good with the information that you've gathered, but you're also stressing every day because Sally Mae is regular. Regular.
Yeah.
She's,
Yes.
I mean, I don't even know if it's not really Sally Mae anymore, but
Like,
that comes on time, right?
You're so smart.
Yeah.
And I mean, no, it's true. And the point is that involuntary servitude to systems, there's a great line by Admiral Hyman Rickover. I think I've quoted this before. If you're going to sin against God, not the bureaucracy, at least God will forgive you.
Yeah.
And
Bureaucracy is not-
I mean, that bureaucracy is coming for you. Should you fail in your loan? Should you fail in your payment? Should you fail? And that doesn't mean you can't buy a house in the suburbs and be a doctor, and right in the middle, something bad or untoward happens, and you, to your child, to your thing, and then all of a sudden you're in debt to the hospital that's paying you because your child is severely, and I see this, and this is why I loved going down with Tom Shadyac, whose brother was running St. Jude's Hospital, and we're taking care of, and I'm seeing with Stanford for Louise Packard's, and you're getting help to people who can't afford to pay for their child's cancer treatment. And you're like looking around and you see this abundant wealth in Palo Alto. You see huge opulent mansions. And yet there in the place is a poverty kid out of Merced who's looking at you going, I thank God every day for this place because my mom and dad are here getting help to get me better. And you're like, what do we need to learn about that? I'm just asking all three of you. You're younger than me. I keep shaking my head going, what? That's because that's generational wealth, where your whole boat doesn't get overturned in the storms of life by a health crisis, correct?
Right.
Or a panorama.
Or a panorama. Or
right.
Yeah.
Or Panera. I the level Panera, yeah, it's a Panera. I think like the level of it's just so completely disproportionate when you have people who can't afford their treatments, they can't afford the insurance. Insurance goes up and up and up. It's a constant system. And you have people who are very lucky to be able to go to some place like St. Jude's and receive the help that they need. And they're able to see the bigger picture about love and life and light and living in that. And it's not so much the financial burdens, but their financial burdens are real.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you have people, pharmacists, the cost of medication skyrockets overnight for no apparent reason. People can't afford their insulin. How do we get out of it's the system? And you were asking, how do we get out of this? What I'm really proud of about this younger generation is they are not quiet.
Yeah.
They are not
mad.
quiet.
They
If
were-
something is on their chest.
They were what Dr. King intended, correct?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. When something is on their chest, when they think that the system is wrong or failing them, they are going to get out. They're going to do a podcast about it. They're going to do
Right.
a TikTok about it. Whatever the case is, they will protest. And I think that that's what this country needs.
Yeah.
It demands that.
Why do
what
you think
incited
that's
the
true?
change.
I believe you, but why do you know?
Because they're the product of the first generation of people who recognized how broken.
Yes.
They're not.
Oh.
So we had the quiet generation.
Amen, amen, amen.
You know, they had the quiet generation who just sucked it up. They were the cogs. They were the factory workers. They were, they were the ones that cemented the system in our century, in our lifetime.
Accepted, acquiesced, complied.
Yeah, it made sense to them, so they went with it. And if it didn't make sense, then they just shut up about it.
But this is what everybody else is
This is
doing.
what everybody else was doing.
Or
Then
cast aside
Right.
for trying to do something else.
Right. But they also lived through some craziness.
Right.
So they were like, okay, so I'm gonna work a 50-hour work week at this desk. I'm not gonna move. I get a half-hour break. At least I'm not in a dust bowl.
Right.
At least, there's no world wars on the horizon. So they were like, that's what they were measuring their life up against.
It's not so bad I can endure.
Exactly. So they made the boomers. The boomers got to see the fruits of that labor, of those cogs, of those machines that worked efficiently and without question.
Mhm.
They got to benefit from those.
Right.
And the boomers, who were so about perpetuating that cycle, they made the Generation X. Those were our latchkey kids. Those were our kids who had parents that were so intent on feeding back into the cycle that they were left to raise themselves. And that was the beginning of the end for our systems. You had kids that were left to raise themselves. So they got to raise themselves however they saw fit.
What was the impact of that to those kids, though? That's what I'm asking.
The Gen Xers? The Gen
Yeah.
Xers give you, they're
Triggered trauma.
Say it again. Say it again.
No, I said triggered trauma.
triggered,
They're underlying.
traumatized,
I mean,
they're-
go ahead.
they're emotionally, I don't even want to say stunted. They're emotionally like,
I was gonna say unavailable.
yeah, unavailable. There's a detachment that exists within them. And
but they know how to endure.
right.
Right.
And they're that generation. They're the generation that kind of rubs up against the millennials. Because some of them had the same parents.
Mhm.
But
Wow.
they're the same side. They're opposite sides of the same coin. You have our Gen Xers who are disenfranchised. They are the first ones that saw that college didn't equal success.
Mm.
They're the first ones that saw both recessions.
Both.
Both recessions. They saw the housing bust. They were the first ones to go, oh, some is not okay here, but they didn't know what to do about it.
Mhm.
The millennials are the opposite side of that coin. We came out of the womb anxiety ridden.
That speaking of generational wealth, it was generational trauma. That stuff has passed down.
Right.
You come
Yeah.
out the room like, I have to endure. No, you're in Pampers.
Oh, it's horrible. Don't say anything. It'll be fine. You're like, but no.
Right.
So you know what I mean? The millennials came out. They came out stressed out. And then they went into a system that didn't know what to do with them because they were the ones who were speaking up about
Right.
their depression at 10. They were the
Right.
ones who were speaking up about having anxiety because they're overachievers in high school. And up until now, everybody was under the opinion that being an overachiever was all good.
Hmm.
Right.
And they're like, no. Like, I'm over here like popping no-dos
Right.
and not
Yeah.
sleeping because the expectations that have been placed upon me are too damn high. And they're the ones who are going, I don't know how I feel about this college. I'm going to go. We'll see how it goes. And the majority of them are like, this sucks. I'm done with this.
Yeah. And is it self-pressure or outside that pressure or both?
It's
Both.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
It's the
both.
outside pressure that is therefore internalized and continually emphasized about how you have to achieve,
Right.
how you have to succeed,
Right.
how you can't disappoint.
Right.
That disappointment is a huge
Right.
thing.
You mean yourself and
And
family?
others.
Society. I mean,
Others.
Most.
in previous media history has any other generation been known to be constantly targeted for having ruined something in society? I can't think of a time where anybody went, oh, the Gen Xers are ruining skinny jeans. Like, the Gen Xers are ruining mayo. The Gen Xers are ruining cereal. The Gen Xers are ruining the restaurant industry. Like, millennials have been targeted as being the end of a slew of things. Because we're like, explain to me why I'm paying $17 for a box of cereal. Who the hell needs mayo? Why would I go out to eat when I could just have avocado toast at home?
I learned how to make this myself. I don't need to go out. But I also think that these millennials specifically are also have the fortune and the wherewithal to look outside of this country to compare, to see, to actually travel to
Right.
see how it's done in the rest of the world. They're opening their eyes that the world is so much bigger. Don't worry. I love these United States, right? But
No,
the world is so much bigger.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how are we in Denmark and we have a 3-day work week? How has that benefited them? Maybe we
Right.
should think about not committing ourselves to 80-hour work weeks, stressing out. We have no time for family. We have no time for
Right.
ourselves. There's no balance. It's the grind. We're continuously vocal about this is not okay.
Right.
This can be done better
Right.
as well. It's not, it doesn't have to be the stress is on me. So
Right. Exactly.
yeah.
Millennials were the birth of like the hustle economy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they were like, I'm gonna do this different. And the beauty of that is that we have Gen Xers who are now in their 20s. They're the generation that came after millennials. And they're like, yeah, I went to college, I majored in underwater basket weaving, and now I have a business in underwater basket weaving. Like,
I export to 70 countries.
right.
My
You know,
baskets.
once upon a time,
Right.
the idea was that, you would go to college and you had to get a degree that was going to do something for you.
Right.
And now you go for the education, you go for the experience, if you choose to go. And you don't necessarily have
You're
to
good.
do that.
I think we're also learning that, not everybody learns the same.
Right.
Yeah.
You do not have to go to college to acquire the class, the information.
Right.
You could go out and have life experiences. And for some people that works better. And there's no shame in that.
Right.
You don't have to internalize that guilt like, well, I didn't go to college, but I'm still out here making it. You don't have to feel guilty about
Right.
that.
I think that's, for me, that's what my life is, right? Like my parents wanted me to go to college right out of high school. I barely passed high school, but I only passed because if I didn't get a 2.0, I couldn't play baseball, and so I had a 0.5 GPA and a 3.5 GPA to average down to a 2.0, and it was like, all
3.5
right.
is hard, huh?
So I went to college, but I passed business, baseball, and photography out of 18 units, for 2 semesters. And I was like, can you tell what I'm interested in?
Absolutely.
Right? And so I've been in business my entire life, even since middle school.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a different way. And the whole culture of what we're building here is different. It goes against mainstream. I get the constant question of like, how are you guys in business?
But we are.
We are.
Man.
How are you gonna make a living telling stories of people helping people, whether they have budget or not? I don't really care. I'm doing what I want,
Right.
I'm doing what I
and
want.
we'll figure it out.
And I've survived
Yeah.
the Panera.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing is that you're not just surviving, you're prevailing and overcoming,
Yeah.
because the system can't tell you who you are.
Right.
Ask a guy who only had a 4th grade education. There's a book called, for all you folks out there, called Dr. Thomas Hartman, very smart guy, and it's called The the Edison Gene, and it's about ADHD. There was a young man who never had any kind of formal education past fourth grade, but he created so many things in his hometown of Philadelphia, and they eventually created a university called University of Pennsylvania. His name was Dr. Benjamin Franklin. And what we know is he never had formal education, but he was called doctor out of respect for the wisdom inherent and internally given to him by whatever process it was. People so accepted that because of his leadership. You know, when I think of leaders, you think of the Tuskegee Institute, and you think of the wisdom that's inherent at Fisk, at Morehouse, and you think of the wisdom at different institutions where you have to teach people that listen to leaders.
That part.
Huh?
That part. Not all teachers are leaders, and not all leaders are teachers, but all leaders can be teachers.
If they know.
This is why
if they
we're
know
here.
who they are.
If they know who they
smart
are.
enough
If they know
to,
which one they are.
Right.
Say that again. Say it again. I want to hear it.
Yeah, it's the leaders, the not teachers, the
Not
teachers.
all teachers are leaders. Not all leaders are teachers, but all leaders can be teachers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can
If
become
they know
teachers.
who can become teachers.
If they know who they are.
Yo, you guys, this was. I wish we could be Joe Rogan and just talk for hours and have that be okay for our podcast, but we have to keep it on time.
Right.
And we are coming to a close of our show. So
It's only because Cesar says so. We can
It's-
keep going.
no, we cannot. So I want to take a second to give a shout out to Mark Machado, who
Yep.
was our first sponsor.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank
Corporate
you,
Global.
Mark.
Thank you
Okay,
so
Mark.
much for investing in us and believing in us and believing in our interns. Yeah. So
Nicely done, Rob.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Well, and we got to give a big shout out. We've got our interns with us today doing the production side of things. Do we have a
There's
behind,
so
behind the
many.
scenes camera today? No.
no.
Behind the yeah, we got Griffey shooting behind the scenes photos. We've got Vinny on the GoPro videoing the behind the scenes, and we've got Eva monitoring everything that's going on and taking notes.
Yep.
So, and we also got Cesar and Grimshaw here doing the production work behind the scenes. So it really takes a village. It really takes a team. We know that there's so much more we can do together than we can ever do on our own. And between you and me, Mike, right?
Yeah,
With
exactly.
having the two of them on
Yeah, I
today,
know,
there's
yeah.
so much
I
more
just
we can
wanted
do
to just
together
keep
than we
listening.
could ever do on our own.
So here's what I propose, that when all of these are done, we make a film.
Ooh, do we know someone that could do that?
Yes.
Oh.
You
Do you
Oh, okay.
have
and Cesar.
I
Do we have a
think
set-
Okay,
we
so-
have a
do we have the
I like it.
equipment?
So here's what I say is today and every day, it's really helpful to realize that you should have an attitude of gratitude in your latitude. And that means that people aren't happy because of other things. If they're grateful, they're happy because they're grateful. And if they're grateful, they're happy. Truth. And today I'm grateful and happy to have two future college professors who will be, don't look away. Don't look away.
Okay.
Yes. Because if there's anything that teaches you about the wisdom of nurturing the soul, it's working in catering and food and watching the wisdom of nurturing not just the physical body, but the soul's body, which is what you do, And so I am no longer hungry or thirsty because I've been around amazing Sarah wisdom.
Oh,
Right.
Layla, any last words before we end the show today? Just to put you on the spot.
so much. Thank you for having me. Honestly, like coming into this, I wasn't quite sure. I was like, is there going to be a test at the end of this?
It's
always a
Multiple
test.
Choice.
Not
but
with
I
us
really-
involved.
but I
We're
really,
ADD people.
but I really enjoyed
the
my
bubbles?
time. They're still clearly they're like bubbles. I've enjoyed my time. I've enjoyed the topic. Love on your family. Strive for your best every single day, and most importantly, because we don't know how long this journey is. So really, truly treasure every step of it, and don't get so caught up in the mundane. And leaders can be teachers, and teachers can be leaders. And was it close?
And leaders.
I know. I don't
Okay.
know.
Leaders
I don't pay
can be
It was
attention.
good, though.
teachers.
I don't pay attention to what comes out of
Yeah.
my mouth, you guys.
So we will wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining us for Donuts for
Spirit wisdom.
Breakfast.
Spirit wisdom.
Please feel free to comment, drop some words of wisdom of your own. You know, let us know if you want to be on the show or
Let us know
sponsor
if
the
you wanna be
show.
on the show or sponsor.
We are taking requests. That doesn't sound right now. I'm a DJ for
topics.
topics.
Curious,
DJ
things
Trevor,
you're curious about. Don't
DJ
forget to
Trevor,
like
Donuts for
and
Breakfast. Whoop, whoop.
subscribe to our YouTube channel to make sure that you catch all of our episodes of Donuts for Breakfast. And don't forget to subscribe to our new Donuts for Breakfast Instagram, which is being run and maintained by our amazing interns.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So excited about that.
Interns.
What was that reel that was posted that got like 10,000 views in like a couple hours? It was
The very
crazy.
first reel for Donuts for Breakfast had a great viewing. I was really proud of everybody
Yeah.
for putting that together.
Nice.
So again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here for Donuts for Breakfast. Remember, go out there, share your smile with someone, share a compliment, make someone's day, and be the person that is where action meets compassion.
There it
go.
is. Found it.
Bye, guys.
What he
Have a good
said.
day. What he said.
Can you do this now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can totally eat the donuts.
I'm
You can
like
eat the donuts during the show.
Only person that eats.
Donuts?
Yes.
Feel like a thing.